Physical limitations in the golf swing. So that's what we're covering today. I'm Mark Amy here at the One-to-One Golf Shop Studio. It's very easy overlooked, very easy ignored, and can be very frustrating. So if you do have that golf lesson, just make sure you do cover what previous injuries you've had, or anything that's not feeling quite right. It's any pain really. Pain is not right. So that can then influence on how you're manoeuvring your body to achieve that golf swing. So today we're covering knees. I've got a bad left knee. I was cycling and fell off and hit it on a curve, so flipped the kneecap off, which is never a winner. So we'll brush over that. But the how to hit the golf swing down here if you've got bad knees is you can get round it. So the main bit that affects the knee is the torque and the flexion. So that's the two things that you're trying to reduce down. So you've got your lead and your trail knee, which have a huge influence on the golf shot. So it's fairly straightforward how you can influence these things. So I'm just going to go through them. So you've got your flexion. So a quite obvious one there is not to flex the knees as much as you normally would do. So you're going for a bigger hip hinge. So when you're setting yourself up into your posture, if you put the shaft just above your hips, push back as if you're trying to flex the shaft, tilt forward with the leg straight, you'll feel the hamstrings pull slightly, and then just a slight give of the knee. So you're trying to produce more hip hinge and less flexion in the knees, which will then, if you've got a slightly straighter leg, will just help that less pressure on that knee. The torque, so that's the twist on that knee, which has a huge influence. If you do a little bit of an experiment, just be careful with it if you've got a bad knee. So just turn the foot in, the trail foot in to begin with, and then swing back, and you'll feel a tremendous amount of pressure on that knee. I felt that straight away as I went to swing back. I felt that straight on the inside there. Especially if you're a runner, it's very easy to get that pain on that inside of that knee. So then experiment and angle that foot outwards, which also helps the hip flexor as well, which I've done on a previous video. If you haven't seen that, click on the link below. That's quite good. That will help with the hip flexor. So you angle that trail foot out, so when you turn back, there's a lot less pressure on the knee. The only downside to that one is when you open that foot up, when you do go on that downswing, if you leave that foot behind, there will also then be torque again on that leg. So, but we don't want to leave that foot on the floor anyway. So that, make sure that when you do that position, that you drive through the shot and get that foot up off the floor onto that big toe, which will then take the pressure off that knee. On the lead knee, which is quite common on that one, so I have a few problems with that, which is my main problem in between the two knees, is my lead knee. So same as the trail, you open your foot up, so you angle that trail foot out, so that will just less torque on that knee. You can even open the stance up, so rather than being square, just open yourself up. Obviously that will have an influence on the shot, but you can experiment with that. That potentially might cause a little bit of a left to right, but if you're then able to drive through the shot better because you've got less resistance there and you feel more comfortable to drive through. The next one is potentially, so as you swing back and come through, is to make sure you're turning those hips and you're clearing that hip correctly, which will then, as you come through, will then straighten the leg. When the leg's straightened, there's less twist, torque, flexion on that leg if you're coming through and hitting with a straight leg, rather than moving that way towards the target, doing a lateral move. If you do that lateral move, I'm feeling that in the leg straight away, so you're not stacked. Ideally, when you turn through that shot, you've got that 45-degree bump. If you get that bump, then you'll be loading that leg, so as that leg comes through, it straightens, and there's a lot less pressure on that knee. Same with the trail knee. Very easy to try and keep it flexed. That will put a tremendous amount of pressure on that leg. If the knee's not fully operational as such, then straighten that leg, just allow that to leg. As long as you keep that body in check, that position, that turn, to then load that leg still, just allow it to straighten, and that will reduce the effect on that knee as well. So it's just quite a few small little pointers that you can put in. Big one of flaring of the feet. You can change the angle of your stance, straighten of the leg, make sure the hip is turning so you've got a 45-degree bump away, so you can put that club between your stance on on the trail toe to the lead heel, so you've got that angle to feel that turning through, which will then straighten that leg rather than a slide through to the target, which puts a tremendous amount of pressure on that knee. Any questions or comments, please send them through. Any requests on any parts of the body that you feel that you've got an injury and you want to try and help to make that swing more consistent, give us a thumbs up, smash the logo to subscribe, click on our next video, and I'll see you soon.